Thanks for listening. I'm not an expert on relationships, but there's some links of some good people down below. And I'm also not a theologian. It's for fun. Faith is easy for some people and hard for others, especially if you've experienced betrayal. Sometimes we must exhaust all of our resources before we can rely on God. We try to be self-sufficient instead of trusting in Him. In Luke 8, 43 to 48, a woman had an internal bleeding problem. She spent all her money on doctors, couldn't cure it. There's a prophecy. She'd grown up in the church. She'd grown up with the prophecies in the Old Testament. And there was a prophecy in Malachi 4:2 that said, when the Messiah came, he'd have healing in his wings. Wings referred to the prayer shawl that the rabbis or the teachers of the time wore, and actually the fringe on the prayer shawl would be healing. In the Old Testament, God gave us a lot of very concrete metaphors for things to teach us complex concepts and words. When man was first made, we didn't know what words like redemption and atonement and forgiveness meant. Everything was new to us. God had to give us concrete metaphors and pictures to teach us, kind of like you do with kids. You start out very concrete to teach them more abstract things. That way we'd know what God was talking about when He was talking with us. We take it for granted, the 6,000 years of learning and teaching we've gotten. We can say these words like atonement, forgiveness, etc., and we immediately know what those words mean, or at least we know what they're talking about. Those concepts shouldn't just come out of thin air. God had to demonstrate them and show them to us. God had a special outfit He designed for the priests. One of those things was a prayer shawl or a tallit. When they made those for the priests, they had to put fringes on each of the four corners. Those are called tzitzit. The tallit, or the prayer shawl, was a symbol of God's covering us, like a mother covering her baby with her wings. Anyway, that lady whom Luke was recounting the story of, she thought, if this is really the Messiah, the one that had been prophesied that we heard all this time in church. By the way, there are over 365 prophecies concerning the Messiah that Jesus fulfilled. And for one person to even fulfill 8 of them is a 1 in 10 to the 21st power chance of that happening. Anyway, she said, if he's really the Messiah, then I should be able to reach out and grab the tzitzit or fringes of his prayer shawl and be healed. Lo and behold, she grabbed the fringes of the prayer shawl and was healed. The Holy Spirit was there working with Jesus, saw her faith, and healed her. A lot of that stuff in the Old Testament we don't have to do anymore because Jesus, He became our high priest and He fulfilled the righteousness. The things that we still do today, that apply today, are in the New Testament. So we know that what things still carry over. I've seen some miracles as a Christian. When I first became a Christian, I saw a woman praying at church after the pastor had given a sermon. She was praying for God to heal her. One leg was actually 1.5 inches shorter than the other. She had to wear a doctor prescribed and special made shoe that was very expensive. She would limp. Her leg actually grew out and they became the same length, and she didn't have to wear it any longer, and she didn't limp. I was out of a village in a faraway place where they had a radio and a pastor was giving a sermon. And when he prayed, someone brought their little goat over to the radio because it was like their only source of like food and income. So it was really important to them. As they put up there next to the radio, the little goat became healed and he started like jumping around. The whole village was happy. I've also experienced little things in my life, like I wanted some peaches one time. And a few days later, someone gave me some out of the blue without me telling them or telling somebody else. And then there was another time I needed some socks. And so I went to a store that I didn't usually go to, and then they had a big, huge bag of socks on sale. Got something I needed. But the miracles weren't to prove my faith. It was just because I had a relationship with God, and God is generous. He's a generous guy. It's like having a kid, and they like apples or plums or bananas or whatnot. And you get them something for the joy of it. God just enjoys giving. But if you have trouble believing in God or having faith in Him, a miracle isn't going to do it for you. You can have a great big one happen in front of you, and afterwards you'd still be going, nope, don't think that was true, don't think that was real, don't think that was happening. Like Ebenezer Scrooge, he had a spirit right there talking to him, and he was like, you're just a blot of mustard, a bit of undigested beef. If you have problems believing in God, you have to sit down and figure out why you have a problem with God, and then be open to Him. But just because you're open, because you're willing, doesn't mean that you'll see miracles. Some people have faith and they never see miracles. Some see a lot. I think miracles are great. I rejoice when they happen in people's lives. God came through for them in the clutch, you know. They're praying really hard and boom, it happened. Especially it's something like being healed from cancers, and the doctor said they only had like a few months to live. Had their friends and their family praying for them, and miraculously, they got healed when they shouldn't have been. God doesn't do miracles out of merit. Our relationship with Him is based on grace. He doesn't do things because we're good or bad, but He does things according to His will. As far as individual lives go, I don't know why He gives healing to one, but another little kid over here dies of cancer, even though the parents have been praying fervently, and they have a great relationship with God. God knows the exact thing they need, you know, and it's kind of tough, but sometimes it's like the song says, you can't always get what you want, but you get what you need. I mean, this lady who started in the book of Luke, she had this one thing she was dealing with, and although I'm sure it was a big thing for her, I don't mean to minimize it, she gets healed. Whereas Job, another man who had a lot of faith in God, he had a great relationship with, and he went through totally horrible, awful, horrendous circumstances, you know. Faith and miracles are two separate things.